My guest today has led the Red Sox to 2 World Series titles. He'll also be managing the American League in next week's All-Star Game. Terry Francona, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Bonnie.
We're going to get to the All-Star Game stuff in a minute, but go back to last night. Obviously a great win against the surging Twins in a pitcher's duel, but it seems like the event that got more hype took place before the game because David Ortiz, who's been out since the end of May with a wrist injury, took live BP for the first time. How much progress did you see as you watched him in the cage yesterday?
You know, Bonnie, we've been watching him for a while now and following his progress, and it's been, I think the word is consistent. You know, talking to all the medical people and everything. Now David gets outside for the first time and there's cameras and the whole world's watching. So I think that everybody was witnessing what we've kind of been watching all along. He's doing great. We need, and I use the word consistent, we can't just throw him in a game. It just doesn't work that way. He's doing terrific. When we get to the All-Star break in about 10 days, that's the timetable. He's probably pretty close to start where we can turn him loose and get him some at-bats. Now, is that ready to be with us? Probably not quite then, but he's getting close. He's doing a good job.
One of the guys who's really picked up the slack in Ortiz's absence is J.D. Drew, who had more home runs in June than he did all of last year. Why do you think it's taken this long for him to meet the expectations a lot of people probably had when you signed him last year?
Well, when people are new, regardless of what you pay them, or what the expectations are, you know, everybody, there's still the human element. And the first time in a new city, whether you want to recognize it or not, sometimes you try to do too much. There's also things that, you know, at home, children, off the field, that whether you want them to get in the way or not, sometimes they do. And that's just being truthful. The good news is he comes in his second year. He certainly feels more comfortable, and we're seeing the results of that. He's been a great player for us.
Barry Bonds, I know you've heard that name thrown around in relation to your clubhouse. Rumors that he's been brought in for a workout, that there have been internal discussions about him coming on board for the stretch run. What is fact and what is fiction here? I mean, I know you're not Theo Epstein, but as far as you know.
Yeah, but I talk to Theo a lot. I would say a lot of fiction. I got asked a lot of questions about that today because evidently it is out there. I didn't know anything about it. I know there was no workout. I think it's all rumor, and in a place like Boston, that certainly rumors can get some legs, but there's not a lot to that.
Another rumor I've seen is regarding Mark Teixeira, who is having another rock-solid season for the Braves, but he could be a free agent at the end of the season. What type of interest might there be, if any?
Well, and again, and I can't ever talk about a player that's on another team, besides the fact that I know Tex because I was with him in Texas before he went to Atlanta. I love him, but we have a really good first baseman, a really good third baseman, and in about 2 weeks, maybe the best DH in the league. So I think you know where I'm going with this. Some of these things that happen that are on blogs or on the internet, there's just no legs, there's just no reason. They just get out there, and then you got to put them out.
I want to get back to something you just said regarding J.D. Drew and how the emotions of things that go on at home can sometimes affect what happens at the ballpark. This has been a really emotional season for you, the customary peaks and valleys of the season, but also there's been some stuff going on with your family, and it sort of came to a head the same day that John Lester threw the no-no in May. Can you talk a little bit about everything that was going on and what sort of precipitated all of the emotion sort of pouring out in that embrace when he finished the game?
Yeah, it was kind of a hectic time. My son was graduating from the University of Pennsylvania, which we were obviously very proud. We planned on trying to be there as a family and not miss baseball games, which is not easy. But one of the other daughters was in the hospital and kind of struggling. So we were trying to balance baseball, you know, being parents, children that were, on one hand, having a very exciting time in their life, and on the other hand, really struggling physically. And then, you know, besides being exhausted from being in 2-3 cities in a 24-hour span, having one of your young kids' pitchers go out there and pitch a no-hitter, it just kind of came out, the emotions at the end of the night. You want to be kind of a private moment. When you look up the next day, you realize it was in front of the whole world, and it's kind of embarrassing. But yeah, a lot of emotion came out after that game.
Obviously, it will be emotional as you manage your second All-Star game in the last couple of years, with this being the last year in Yankee Stadium. the importance of managing this game to win, simply not knowing that if you're in the thick of things in the playoffs, that Game 7, that ability to have the home field would come in handy.
You know what? Because of the rules that are in place, they say that if you win the All-Star game, you have home field advantage. We need to respect that. At the same time, we need to balance having players represent their cities, be in the game. It's kind of a fine line we're walking. We were fortunate enough in 05 when we were in Detroit. It worked out perfect. We will attempt to do that again. We'll talk to all the players beforehand. We'll actually thank them in advance for their cooperation, and then we'll go out and try to be better in the National League. If our last pitcher out there gets them out, we'll be in good shape, because then things don't become unglued. If that doesn't happen, then you have to scramble a little bit.